Hi, everybody. It's December 17th, 2024, and I'm sitting in one of my happy places, the Tim Hortons on the corner of Blue Mountain Street and Austin Avenue in Coquitlam. And I've been posting these videos as a form of therapy to recover from the trauma of watching my little brother, Paul Kierans, 65, with Down syndrome, be locked up by the BC government for 588 days. We missed 173 scheduled visits, and then he died at Burnaby General under horrible circumstances. I literally watched my brother be killed. They removed his medical ventilator, and I believe they sedated him to death. I've complained to the coroner and to the College of Physicians and Surgeons. So I literally saw my brother be killed before my eyes. It's hard to think about sad things in such a cozy environment. I'm sitting beside a fireplace that looks out. You can look through the fire onto the street, onto the corner of Blue Mountain and Austin and Coquitlam, and I've got a Christmas tree right behind me. So it's an incredibly cozy atmosphere, and I've got a Tim Hortons coffee. So I spent the day, as I do every day, working on trying to get justice for my brother and for myself. So after my brother died, my evil nun sister, who had appointed herself his guardian with what I believe was a fraudulent and forged representation agreement, applied to have me declared a vexatious litigant. So it wasn't enough to kill my brother in front of me, but as a form of what I've been told is medical assistance. They did medical assistance in dying on him. In Canada, people who are ill, they don't need to be dying, but they must be capable. They cannot be mentally incapable, can ask to be killed by a regular doctor or nurse. It just takes 2 medical practitioners on a piece of paper. There's no judicial oversight at all. But my brother wasn't capable of appointing my sister as his representative, and he wasn't capable of consenting to medical assistance in dying. And my sister removed his ventilator, and it had sedated him to death when she discovered that the RCMP had reopened an investigation into their investigation of the representation agreement. And so when my sister discovered that, she applied to have me declared a vexatious litigant. So here she is. She's got the might of the Catholic Church. I estimate she spent $500,000, or the Catholic Church has spent $500,000 on her legal fees. She's got 2 law firms, multiple lawyers working around the clock. And so she applied to have me declared a vexatious litigant. And as far as I understand, she got an order. So the judge went ahead. I'm disabled as well. I've got a potentially life-threatening cardiac condition. That's why I try and get 10,000 steps in every day. Today I've got 12,500 in the pouring rain. So what happened was the hearing was set down, and it was set down for 5 half days because I can't appear in court for longer than 2 hours. So on the second day, the judge went past 12 o'clock, and I stood up and I said, well, my time is up. I'm not allowed to appear by court order. It puts my life at risk to appear in court for longer than 2 hours. And the judge said, well, can't you just sit in the gallery? And the letter from my cardiologist says I cannot appear in court for longer than 2 hours. And my stress and emotional trauma should be kept to a minimum. So she just kept on going. And she went for 2 more full days. And also, I mean, that was bad enough that she was reckless, like absolutely reckless as to my life and my safety. And I could see that she didn't have my materials in front of her. When you do a court proceeding, you have to photocopy the materials for both sides that both sides will be relying on, put them in a binder, give them to file them with the court. But they only put their materials in there. Well, they left out my most important materials. They've got all the money in the world, but they couldn't photocopy my materials as required by the rules. And my sister's evil, incompetent lawyer, Charles Gibson of Ottawa, said, well, she can photocopy them. Like, I'm supposed to photocopy my own materials for their application to have me declared a vexatious litigant. So it wasn't enough that they killed my little brother, but they want to kill me too. I mean, that's not overstating it. I've got a cardiologist, one of the top cardiologists, writing them a letter saying I cannot appear in court for longer than 2 hours. And the judge, Judith Hoffman, sails past 2 hours. So if they can do it to me, they can do it to you. Just like Donald Trump said, they're coming for you, they're just going through me. And that's the same. They're coming for you, they're just going through me and Paul. So there's a lot of news about Justin Trudeau stepping down as Prime Minister. Justin Trudeau's pet project, he had 2 pet projects. One was to decriminalize marijuana, which he did, and the other one was to institute euthanasia, the most broad, laissez-faire and deadly euthanasia project since World War II in the world. 5 out of 100 Canadians who die are killed by a medical practitioner as a part of this euthanasia scheme. All it takes is a signature of 2 medical practitioners, doctors or nurses. They don't need to know the patient. There's no judicial oversight at all for the state-sponsored killing of our most vulnerable citizens. But the thing I want to let everybody know is that I wrote, if you think that Pierre Poilievre is the answer to Justin Trudeau stepping down, he is not. I wrote Pierre Poilievre and I asked him if he was going to roll back the euthanasia scheme in Canada and recriminalize the killing of disabled and vulnerable people by the state. And he said no, he wasn't going to roll it back at all. The Conservative Party has glommed on to every one of these liberal, left-wing, socialist, communist, woke mind virus ideas. They went along with the COVID-19 insanity. They did not support the trucker convoy. So Maxime Bernier of the People's Party of Canada is the best alternative. He is Canada's Trump. Anyways, I'm hoping to have the hearing at the Court of Appeal as to the permission to set aside the decision of the judge who went ahead and declared me a vexatious litigant. I've got a letter from a medical certificate from my doctor saying that it should happen on December 24th. Wouldn't that be, on Christmas Eve, wouldn't that be the most wonderful Christmas present in the world? And I also am waiting to hear back from the Supreme Court of Canada. I've asked them to reconsider their decision. I had asked for permission to appeal the decision appointing the 82-year-old Catholic nun 4,000 kilometers away in Ontario as Paul's representative. with Paul's committee, it's the first time in British Columbia history that a non-resident of British Columbia was chosen over a resident of British Columbia as the committee or the guardian of an incapable person. And I wrote them and I said it's the worst miscarriage of justice in Canadian history. And I believe it is, because my little brother was locked up in his group home for 588 days. And he was completely innocent. So I wish you were here. This is the coziest spot. This is like there should be Christmas carols playing right now. What could be better than sitting in Tim Hortons in front of a fire, looking out in the pouring rain with the Christmas tree behind me? So it looks like things are going to be looking up for Canadians, but we've got to be careful. And the first thing that we have to focus on is setting aside this euthanasia scheme in Canada. There's no time in the history of humanity when it should be okay for the government to kill citizens. Take care, everybody.